Amir, I found you. You're in the attendees. I've upgraded you to a panelist. So we are now going to hear from the wonderful Amir, who is a very cool photographer. I mean, he is working in music photography mainly with bands on tours, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the most exciting thing about it is that Amir used to work with us at Eric every now and then on our events.
Yeah, I used to. Can you guys see and hear me all right?
We can see and hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I used to do go to all the Eric events. It was super helpful, especially because it was during the time I was in sixth form. So yeah, super helpful.
Well, we're full circle. You were people we were helping, and we don't need to help you at all. Look at you. Amir, tell us about what you do and who you work with as well, because I mean, there will be so many young people watching who are gonna, their jaws are gonna drop.
Yeah, so I'm a director photographer, and I work with a range of artists from we've done stuff with like Beabadoobee, Arlo Parks, in 1975, Monoskin, and recently just Teddy Swims. Um, but our kind of niche is like, I guess, like indie, kind of more alternative artists who kind of want to go more into the pop kind of space.
Love that. Okay, and exactly what do you mean by director photographer? Tell us about your hybrid career and exactly what do you do?
So my thing, I kind of look at it as like my thing is just pitching like good ideas and then executing them as so directing is like more like video kind of stuff, and then photography obviously is just more stills. But my main job kind of relies on just pitching constantly all the time.
And when you say pitching, like to what degree are you pitching and how much, like, is it the entire idea? Have tell us, what does that mean?
So it kind of depends on what the who it is for. Because I do a lot of commercial stuff and a lot of stuff with artists. With commercial stuff, there's more like a brief and there's more like I'd say they have like a campaign in mind with references, and you kind of have to they kind of have like a rough idea, and you kind of have to do your take on that and how kind of you would execute that and kind of break that down. And then with artists, it's more like they probably have like a song or like a new project they're releasing and maybe some kind of imagery, but like it's normally like super open and you kind of just like pitch what you think would be the best thing to do within the time and budget.
Love that. Okay, well, tell us about how you got into that because you obviously, I mean, I know that you were kind of taking photos from a young age, but how did you know? Did you always know that you were going to end up somehow getting into what you do now? And then what was your big break as well? I feel like we want to know what that
um
was.
Yeah, for sure. I started just like assisting loads, and I remember being in sixth form and just trying to be like a runner on film sets all the time. And it was kind of good because it's like obviously when you run on a set, it's only like 1 or 2 days. So you can kind of work that around your studying kind of schedule. But I remember just being on set and not knowing what I wanted to do, but I really loved the energy and how everybody was working together to like create something. And then I think after like assisting for like a year and a half, um, I kind of got to know every single role. And what I liked about directing and photography was how um, you kind of just have to really work on your own craft and your own portfolio. So I kind of just was always kind of working on sets, assisting, and then trying to develop my own things at the same time.
And you are yet another perfect example. We've already had quite a few of them happen throughout the course of the week already. A perfect example of someone who does not wait for someone else to give them permission to go and do stuff that they want to do. Like you
Mhm.
just go out and do the stuff and build that portfolio before anyone's even asked for it.
Yeah.
Why do you think you've always been that person? Like, what is it that makes you do that?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I think it's a lot of like being, especially I think in this day and age as well, it's there's such like a DIY kind of attitude of like you see something and you really can to a certain extent like kind of figure out how to do it yourself. So I think I was super when I was younger, I was super inspired of like trying to like see something and be like, oh, how can I kind of redo this myself kind of thing, or figure out like what works and like what doesn't work. So I think when I was younger, I was constantly just trying stuff out, seeing how it came out, and then if it came out good, just like keep doing that, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think that that has been ultimately like a large reason why you are where you are? Because you, I guess, started building from a really young age.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think because I started really like working when I was like 17, 18, and now I'm 25. So I think it's really nice to come into the industry and already kind of be in it for like 10 years, which is really helpful because you just develop a lot of work over that time. But I think the main thing for me, which is what I've learned over the last 5 years, is just really building your portfolio to be really stand out and really just like when a commercial client sees your portfolio, they can really see their campaign straight away. I kind of had like a pivot kind of moment where like I was shooting a lot of stuff that was like really creative and I guess like kind of niche and just like really trying to do cool ideas. And then I kind of realized that to kind of win these more commercial jobs, your portfolio needs to have a bit more of like a line through it that kind of shows like you can do the more extreme, more creative stuff, but the normal stuff still feels really elevated. So then I spent like 2 years just really shooting projects in a way that I knew you could send to like Nike and Adidas and stuff like that, and they could also see their own campaign kind of through it.
That's so interesting because it does show that you always have to keep learning. You have to be flexible. You have to make sure that you're preparing yourself for the next stage, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think what I kind of learned throughout the years is just really focusing on making your portfolio look really valuable. And whether it's like you're doing a job, maybe that's unpaid, or maybe like you have to pull a couple strings, in the long term, it's kind of worth it because then you just have this portfolio of work that people will look at and then they'll hire you to do those kind of things. So it's kind of like an investment of time and ideas, but then also in the long run, if you have a portfolio that just looks really good, then that's just like the most valuable thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so, okay, obviously there are lots of really cool moments in your career, going on tour, you get to travel a lot, you get to be creative, you are the one that is pitching the kind of ultimate creative idea as well. What are the kind of, there's got to be some lows. Tell us about the lows.
The lows, ooh, I think the lows are there's loads of lows, especially when there's something you've been working on and then you don't win it in the end, and the pitches sometimes take so much work, and the bar is so high sometimes you have to like really make it. Sometimes we're making pitches like 30 to 40 pages and then you don't win them and then you're kind of like are you good enough and stuff like that. um Also in other lows, like things like some of the things just don't work and you run out of time, and you kind of you can be super ambitious and just things just don't really work in your favor, or like you try something and it just doesn't really look as good as you thought it would be. But I kind of look at all these things as like learning kind of points. And even with the pitching, like my agent kind of told me like even if you are losing them constantly, the being in a conversation is more of the win, because it's the idea of like your they've like they see your vision and they heard your thing and they want to work with you. It's just this time it didn't kind of work out, and to constantly kind of be pitching on something and losing actually is kind of a good thing because it means they just kind of will keep coming back. And once you pitched like 5 or 6 times, you eventually will get it. So it's kind of thinking about it in the long game as well, of like you are I kind of see it as like I've dedicated my life to this and I put everything into it already. There are going to be lows, but then hopefully long term, it's not. They're just little minor setbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see that. You're building resilience, also staying humble. Sometimes you can't have all the pictures go right.
No,
That's not going to create a good mindset, is it?
no,
You've got to, keep your feet on the ground. And that is what keeps you learning all the time and keeps you able to hear what people are saying and be like, oh, maybe I need to flex and go in this direction as well. Otherwise,
Mm.
it would be very easy to be like, no, my way or the highway kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we've got 4 minutes left. I really want you to share your top tips for the young people watching who might want to pursue a career, not necessarily in the exact thing that you do, but in directing or photography.
Ooh, my top tips I would say is really like learn as much as possible. Like I even like I'm still learning definitely every single day. And kind of look at it like a craft that you just there's like such like masterpieces already out in the world. Like there's so much you can learn from them already. Um, so whether that's like lighting or like even knowing like how to like pursue your ideas properly, definitely just always kind of learn, okay, what could I have done better, like how could I speak about this better, and how can I even elevate this lighting like one step further. um I'd also just say like always kind of, ooh, what's another tip? I'm kind of on the spot. um Yeah, I'd say always learn and always just try and updo yourself every year. Like if you've done a project, kind of be like, what can I do more every single time?
And then if someone was to look at building a portfolio or a show reel, where should they do that? Because you do a lot of stuff publicly on Instagram, don't you? That's kind of like almost like a public portfolio for you.
Yeah,
Do you say that that's a good tactic, or do they
yeah.
on a more formal space?
I'd say definitely Instagram's really good, especially like doing the reels and stuff like that, because they kind of push the reels out to everyone. And I would definitely say like the people who are working at these brands, like they're definitely watching the reels and just looking for stuff that's like doing really well, because that's inevitably what they want their campaigns to kind of do. And that's definitely something I'm learning at the moment as well. It's like using social media more in that kind of way. But yeah, definitely have a good Instagram and build it out and comment on other people's stuff and network in that kind of way. But also I think having a website is super important. Even if it's like super early and nothing on it, I think it just kind of sets a tone of like you've dedicated time into this kind of craft, and the idea of like your this is what you've done with your life so far as like a space online. So I do think it's like super important. And then recently I've built like a physical portfolio, which I at first I didn't really understand, but for when you do like agency kind of meetings, when you have something physical, it really just translates well to them, because that's kind of what they've been used to for the last kind of fifty kind of years.
Oh, I see. So that's literally like a folder with physical
Yeah.
photos in it or stills from your. Okay, no, that's cool. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. And do you have like an agent or anything like that? How do you find the places that you're going to be pitching to?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have an agent, but I didn't always have an agent. I think there's kind of a myth like you get like an agent and then you automatically like win all the work you've ever won. Um, I think an agent kind of is like helpful when you've started to kind of build momentum, and then they can kind of add to that. But I think never think they that you join and they like change your life completely. They're definitely like super helpful in terms of like getting your name out there, especially in these kind of circles and industries which are like have been established for like over 20, 30 years. And being like a new person takes work to be in those conversations. But they're also really good at like organizing and making sure when you do have stuff, it's all like done like properly. But I would say in terms of like momentum, and making brands look at you and artists kind of like your work, it's definitely like from yourself, and that's just from like making good things and reaching out and sharing them. And also like we a lot just like message artists and kind of be like we'd love to pitch them ideas, which I think is like quite effective, because you're really like not asking for much. You're just asking like, oh, I'm really excited about your music in the same way that you probably are, and I'd love to just share what we think we would kind of do with it. So kind of like reaching out first and just like starting a conversation is always good.
I love that. That's a good tip to end on. Just maverick style. Go out and message people that you like on Instagram and or on TikTok or whatever. Ask if you can pitch an idea for a photography.
Yeah.
Yes, or a video. Amazing. Oh my God, Amir, it's been so great having you.
Yes, so good to see you.
So good to see you. Also, I still am very invested in your. Amir has a new business idea, which I'm very excited about. We won't disclose anything now, but keep your eye on the FTSE 100 because he'll be there soon. Thank you so much, Amir. It's been amazing having you speak.